Hello, everyone. Tarek Patel here from SB Live Sports. It's another episode of CIF Southern Section Sit Down. We have the winningest girls basketball coach in California history. Kevin Kiernan's at 900 wins. He's in studio. He's been coaching basketball for about 40 years, high school level, college level, boys, girls. Even at Troy High School, he coached both boys and girls at the same time for 3 seasons. I think that's where he grew most of his gray hair, but he's got a lot of it grown back now. Kevin, thanks for joining us in the studio.
Thanks for having me. It's a pleasure.
I think we got to start with the experience of basketball that you have. 40 years at the high school level, thereabouts, right? Boys and girls. You've coached college. I mean, if you could encapsulate all that time into one nutshell, I don't even know if it's possible, but you know, how would you sum that up? You just announced your retirement from coaching girls basketball, so maybe you've gained a little perspective since that announcement. You know, what a perspective have you gained?
Yeah, you know, it's been a long time, and I've seen a lot, and I think that's one of the most things that stand out to me is the growth that I've seen in 39, 40 years of coaching mostly girls basketball, some boys basketball, women's junior college. The growth of the game from where it was when I started to where it is today, the attention, sold-out arenas, watching the games, the NCAA games, just the growth. I've had a lot of players playing on that level and in the WNBA that we've worked with, and it's just tremendous to see the women's game grow like this. It's really great. I love to see it. These kids work extremely hard. They deserve that attention, and they're running with it. The game's growing.
What's stood out to you the most? We've had Melissa Herlihy on this show, been coaching a long time as well, and for one example she gave us was just the skill level, the size and the skill. She brought up Juju Watkins. I know you've coached plenty of great players. We'll get to that. But she was, you know, Juju's 6 feet tall. Usually a girl like that would be in the post. Now she's a guard. Right. Can you speak to just the skill level of girls basketball?
Yeah, it's exploded. From when I first started, we would have, you know, there would be a few good players. Now there's so many great players. And they play year-round, and they play club basketball. When I first started, AAU basketball was just for the elite players. 1 or 2 kids, one per team maybe, if you had a good team. You know, the majority of the kids would just play summer league with your high school team and whatever you guys were doing. They wouldn't be putting in that extra time. Now, club basketball has exploded. Everybody plays club, regardless of the skill level. So their time they're putting in has exploded. The attention to detail, the extra work, the strength and conditioning component that's added now over the years. Girls are faster, stronger, because they're getting better training. You know, we have 3 strength and conditioning coaches at Modern Day full-time who work with our athletes. So that's that's things that they never had in the past. So they just exploded.
Coaching that, you've had to adapt to coaching, right? More technology, adapting to X's and O's, whatever the case may be. So you got the game blowing up, more skill. So how have you adapted to coaching those kinds of players?
Yeah, I've gotten a little less intense over the years as you get a little older. You know, I was pretty tough to deal with coming up. Very intense guy, a lot of yelling. Kind of softened my approach a little bit. Kids are kids. They haven't changed that much. You know, people say kids change. They have, but mostly we've changed, you know, and the standards that we set have lessened. So, you know, I try to, you know, push kids, hold them to a high standard, always have, but also as I get older, understanding what they're going through, understanding what their process is. You know, I used to get really upset in the summer times when our kids weren't playing with us because I was playing 50, 60 games in the summer. We'd put in our whole system in the summer. And now I see the kids maybe a week or 2 in June. But it's good. They're traveling around the country, playing in tournaments. College coaches get to go to one place and see everybody, not traveling to different high schools. So there's just lots of changes that have happened. A lot of them for the better. There's some not for the better, but most of them for the better. And you have to either adapt and overcome, or you fall behind and people wave and see you goodbye. So I think I've lasted a long time.
Yes, you have.
Adapt and overcome, and you know, understand what the kids are going through and what the demands on their time are, and how I can fit my system and what my demands are and make it work for everybody.
Can we talk a little bit about your origin story, Kevin Kiernan, where you grew up, how you got into hoops, how you got into coaching, something you always knew you wanted to do? Kind of you fell into it. How did coaching enter your life?
Yeah, I played basketball at Canyon High School in Anaheim for Bob Schermerhorn. And I was a pretty average player. And I just always really loved Coach Schermerhorn. Coach Dick Katz was our varsity assistant, a great girls coach later on, just retired a few years ago. I just really enjoyed what they did. They were really good role models for me. And, I said, I want to be a high school basketball coach. I want to work at a high school. And little did I know I'd be stuck in high school for the rest of my life. I have not been able to graduate high school yet. So it was really, good for me. I just wanted to always be involved in basketball. Played a little college basketball at junior college in Minnesota. And came back and got into, went to school to be a sports writer. I was working at the Anaheim Bulletin, covering high school football. Worked on the desk at the Orange County Register.
Wow.
Didn't like that lifestyle too much, a little too sedentary for me.
Sure.
So I got into coaching and got started at La Quinta High School with the girls team. I think that was 1985. And jumped in right as a head coach and really enjoyed it and haven't looked back since.
Jumping in as a head coach kind of early in your young life, what would that kind of sip of water out of a fire hydrant? Yeah, that's a good, what was that like?
What I didn't know, you could fill a room with. I look back on those days and you kind of cringe.
Sure.
Oh my God, I didn't. My first year at La Quinta, we had a tournament. They had always run a tournament, and so I took it over, and we were going to run the tournament. I didn't even order awards for the tournaments. I had nothing. After the last game, people go, "Is there any awards?" What? I'm supposed to do that?
Just didn't know any better.
I didn't know. And everywhere I wanted to go, I wanted to run a program. I just didn't want to coach a team. I didn't want to just, we're going to have a good year, and then we'll have a bad year, and we'll have a good year, and we'll have a bad year. I didn't want to do that. I wanted to run a program where there was a system, there was a way we did things, kids knew it coming in, leaving, they knew what they were getting into, and we kind of, played the same way all the time, and were consistent in what we did. And, try to travel, try to do things off the court, help kids grow. So, I learned that really early on when I was a young person, and that stuck with me.
So we'll jump forward a little bit. I know there was some stuff in between, but you get hired, or you're at Troy High School in 1996. You were there for, it sounds about a decade or so, and then you got hired at Mater Dei. Can you talk about what your time was like at Troy High? And I think for 3 years, you mentioned you were the boys coach as well at the same time. Yeah,
I had an unbelievable time at Troy. I was there for 11 years, and, to be honest, I love Mater Dei, and Mater Dei's been great to me. But, Troy was a really great experience for me. I was in a special education instructional aide, so I was full-time on campus. And that was one of the best jobs I've ever had in my life. I loved working with those kids. The staff was unbelievable. They were very supportive of what we were doing on the girls' basketball side. We had a great athletic director, John Turek, great administration, and the kids were unbelievable. You have to be really smart to go to Troy. It's a really tough academic school. And we had really smart, tough kids. And, they bought what we were selling right away, bought into the system. We had a lot of success. I had really good assistant coaches, but I really had really smart, tough players. And I just had it was a great time coaching. It was like, how much more fun can this get? You're winning, you're having fun, you have great kids. The principal one day came in and asked me, "Hey, Kevin, will you coach the guys?" I said, no.
Yeah, that sounds brutal, man. Both at once.
Yeah. But AD really reached out and insisted, "Hey, this is good for Troy. Can you do this for us, at least for a while?" So I ended up coaching that for 2.5, 3 years. But it was tough, and it's something I didn't want to do long term for sure. So I wanted to get away from that. But actually, we won a league title in my last year there at Troy with the boys, which was incredible because it was so much harder to win with the boys than it was for the girls at the time. Girls were just locked and loaded.
Got it.
We didn't lose a league game my entire 11 years there in the Freeway League. The boys side, great coaches, Sonora, La Habra, Fullerton, and it was a battle every night. And we finally broke through, won the league title. And when I announced my retirement, they did a thing, a video or something with acknowledgments and all that stuff, league championships. And one of the former guys hit me up and said, how come you haven't said that your toughest and most rewarding league title was the Troy High School boys title? And I go, you're right.
Probably right. Yeah.
It was so hard, and compared to not that the girl stuff's not hard.
Sure.
But we just had it rolling, and you weren't beating us at that
Got
time
it.
at Troy.
Got it.
So, and then the modern day opportunity came up, and I wasn't looking to leave Troy. I could have stayed at Troy forever, but I had 3 kids at the time, another one on the way. My wife was my assistant coach, and special education instructional aid was one of my favorite jobs of all time. Loved it, but it wasn't the highest paying job in the world. And Modern Day had an opening for a teacher, like English teacher, freshman English teacher, and I had a journalism background. They had just opened the Murillo Center the year before, and it was, and I really did. The only thing I knew about Modern Day was at Troy we usually beat them.
I love it.
It wasn't like the Modern Day was like feared,
like the powerhouse.
Yeah, I mean, they had struggled for a couple of years. Coach Jerry Campo had been the coach a bunch of years before that, and she had Modern Day rolling. They were really good, and then she had left, and the last couple of years they were struggling. So it was probably a really good time to come in, and I really had to think about it. It was a really tough decision, but I think financially and, for the future of my kids and family, decided to make the jump, and it was a great jump. And I still miss Troy. I love Troy. I root for them unless we're playing them. But being able to teach freshman English for 14 years at Modern Day and become an athletic director and coach the amount of talent that we've had run through there has been really rewarding for me.
Perfect segue to talk about that talent, the just Modern Day girls basketball. It's national brand, Kevin, and you helped to build that. What did that take? Obviously, talking about support staff, but just the players. You've traveled around the country. You've played in the Hoop Hall Classic. I saw you there earlier this year. I mean, it is a different gauntlet when you build a program that well known. It's like, well, now I got to keep it here, and so that comes with a toll, a tax, however you want to call it. So talk about just kind of the rigors of that.
Well, coming in and leaving from Troy, we came in with a reputation of winning, having, beaten, Brea, Modern Day, all the good teams. We were kind of right there at the top and having won some CIF and state championships. And so coming into Modern Day, we wanted to get Modern Day back to where they should be. In our minds, they should be competing for CIF and state championships every year. We wanted to get it where the boys program was, where Gary had his program. So, we came in with a mindset, we really want to get this going. And a funny thing, I was just hired, and I was in the Murillo Center there running a club tournament like they do every year. And I was just sitting there by myself, just watching some of the games. And like 5 chairs down, there was this 6-foot girl. I mean, just looked like a great basketball player. I didn't know who she was. And people do not believe this. They think that I came in at the same time she did, and that was all a plan.
Got it.
I'm not that smart. And,
not that calculated, huh?
Not that good. She was like 5 seats away, and someone told me, that's Kalina Mosqueda-Lewis. And I go, well, who's that? She goes, well, she's going to Modern Day, and she's probably the best player you'll ever coach. And he was right. And she was a fantastic player. She came in the same year I did. And you could say that me and my staff, we kind of changed things up at Modern Day and got it rolling in the right direction. We wouldn't have done it if Kalina Mosqueda-Lewis wasn't there. And after her freshman year, a whole bunch of kids came in to join her. And Jordan Adams, Alexis Violatama, by Kalina's second, third year there, we would have 8, 9 Division I kids playing. We were a college basketball team playing at a high school level. And we just took off and, won some state CIF championships, state championships, and then won back-to-back national championships, which kind of really set that bar.
Yes, it did.
So high. So everything was great. I love in teaching. I love it. Modern Day support is unbelievable. Our admin, unbelievable support for athletics, like nothing I've ever seen before. And but after the first 5 or 6 years, the pressure to win. My AD told me, hey, Kevin, don't worry about the national stuff. Just do what you're doing. But it's hard not to. Once you win
easier said than done.
Yeah, once you win a national championship, it's like, well, I want to be ranked in the top 5 every year. So the internal pressure to just keep doing that was one of the toughest things that I've faced at Mater Dei. And we were able to do it. We've been good every year. We've been in the Open Division every year since it started. I think we're the only team to be in it every year. I'm really happy with that. I'm really happy with the kids that we had come through. But yeah, once Kalina came in and we started winning big, it just kind of snowballed, steamrolled, and we've had to work really hard to keep it there. And we've had great players come in since, Katie Lou Samuelson, Brooke Dimitri, who just was huge the other night for Stanford to get them into the Sweet 16. Just fantastic kids, fantastic players, but it is pressure-filled.
When you mentioned it, you said you knew from the beginning you wanted to run a program, and here, you got your baby, Troy, you said you did it there at Troy, but you got the national baby per se at Mater Dei. How did you ever feel like you had to kind of reinvent yourself to stay ahead of the curve? Talk about how, maybe not just you, but just coaches in general. I know it's kind of cliche, but coaches steal from each other. They see an out-of-bounds play, like, hey, man, make sure we get that on film. We're going to start running that. But you're always trying to stay ahead. How does a coach, someone like yourself, how do you do that?
Well, coaches are thieves. I mean, we're the greatest thieves in the world. I mean, if we see something that works for somebody else, I'm taking that. I have a certain way that I like to play. I like to press. I like to apply full court pressure defense. I like my kids to be the defender that I never was. It's important to me. I think that one of the most under-taught skills there is passing. On the boys' side, it's a little better because if I put 10 guys in the gym and I leave, I can come back in 20 minutes and those guys will be playing full court pickup basketball. So they just play.
Got it.
They can get instinctual passing just through playing pickup games. If I put 10 girls in the gym, they'll either, when I come back after 15 minutes, they'll either still be in a circle talking, or they'll be doing shooting drills.
Sure.
Because they're very coachable kids and they're very used to being taught and drilled, but they won't play pickup.
Got it.
And so I always thought on the girls' side, especially, that passing was a little bit on the weak side, and there wasn't many great instinctual passers. So I thought always pressed, always trapped. It was a big part of what I've done at Troy, Cypress College, and at Mater Dei, and we've been really successful, doing that. But I've changed over the years as far as, I'm not as stubborn as I was, and obviously not pressing teams that can actually handle it. And my coaches tell me, what are you doing? Take that press off. So, I've changed about my approach. I'm more collaborative now, with other people instead of being stubborn. I learned a long time ago, I had success early, and sometimes you get that ego thing going, like, I can take any 5 players and beat you. And I got out of that really quick and found out it's the players.
It's
the players. It's great that you have a system, and it's great you have to work hard. And all good coaches, I think, have a kind of charisma about them that they translate to their players, that make the players want to follow them and listen.
Of course.
I think all great coaches have that. But it's, I've learned over the years that it's a player-driven thing, and you got to listen to the players, be in tune with the players, have your system, have your standards. I have mine, and we don't deviate from it. But I've also learned to listen a little bit.
The great players you've coached or even coached against, let's start with the players you've coached. Kind of a cliche question, but what always seems to be the common denominator when a kid steps onto the floor at Mater Dei or even at Troy, the great ones, it's like, within X amount of minutes or a day or a week, this player is special. Why?
The will to be great. I mean, so many people talk about it. Like, I'm going to do X, Y, and Z, and I'm going to be the next Katie Lou Samuelson or next Kalina Mosqueda-Lewis. It doesn't work that way. You can't just check things off a box. I mean, you have to give your whole soul into doing this, and you have to sacrifice so much. People don't realize what these great players have sacrificed, the time, the social life they gave up, the things that some kids just take for granted. the ability to get up in the morning and lift weights and then go to the basketball training. They don't realize the hard work, and the people who don't realize that, they don't want to, because they don't want to work that hard. So that select few that are so great, the Caitlin Clarks of the world.
Sure.
I would imagine her summer is filled with 10-hour days of basketball when she's training. It's just the greatness within them and the will to do it, and that's the thread between all great players that I've seen.
When a player tells you at the beginning, Coach, I want to be this good, I want to be all CIF, I want to earn a scholarship, and now it's your responsibility to keep that player accountable to their goal. That's hard, isn't it?
Yeah, it's really hard. And I really respect that when a kid, because most of the time kids come in are a little scared and nervous to talk to me. And I really respect the kid that comes in. One, I respect the kid who comes into Mater Dei, or a school like Mater Dei, Harvard, Westlake, all these other great schools have great programs, not just us. But they come in and they want to compete, wherein they can go to other schools and have much better stats, much better opportunities. But I really respect kids who come in and say, I want to compete against the best, and really mean it, and not just have lip service and just give up after a year going, oh, the best is too good for me. I don't want to compete against the best. But I really respect that, and that's a mindset that I think great players have. They want to compete. Again, back to the will. I don't have the will to compete against this person who's better than me, but I want to play against them every day in practice and see if I can reach that. And that's a tough thing to do. You run into a lot of roadblocks when you're playing. You're the 9th or 10th man on our team, and the 7 people in front of you are Division I players. That's tough, and a lot of people get discouraged and they don't finish. They quit. So I really respect that. So when a person comes in with that mindset, I'm 100% behind that, and I'll do anything for that kid to reach that goal and work hard, because I love that mindset. I have a ton of respect for it.
I wanted to talk to you about the landscape of high school sports. You are an athletic director. You deal with a lot of sports and parents, and we have to bring up the T word, transfers. And you always want to ask coaches that have been around a while, and especially someone that's in an administration as an athletic director, the transfer, is it something you feel has gotten out of hand? You're okay with kids moving around? Do you think there should be a harsher penalty? What are your thoughts on the transfer? Because we are kind of in this heavy transfer era, I think.
Yeah, that's a great question, and it's such a polarizing topic. At Mater Dei, people don't believe this, but we actually lose more kids than we get. I mean, we certainly do get a bunch of transfers, but we also get a lot of kids who come in for a year and say, hey, this is not for me, and they go elsewhere. So it's, it's a double-edged sword. I think it is fairly easy to transfer. Have I had transfers that have worked out beautifully? Absolutely, and it was probably the best thing for them or their families. So it really worked out. Have I had transfers that haven't worked out and it wasn't a great decision? Absolutely. So I don't think there's much we can do about it, because I think I don't think you put the genie back in the bottle as far as transfers. I mean, you could put in harsher penalties, harsher rules, and then you're in court. And, people are not afraid to challenge, the CIF in court, and they don't want anything to do with that. We don't want anything to do with that at Mater Dei. We don't want to be in court. So will the rules get stricter? I doubt it. Will they get easier? Maybe. It could go the other way. So it's again polarizing. I've had great transfers, and I've seen transfers that didn't work out. In a perfect world, you start somewhere. I'd love to see you go 4 years. Be connected to that school, because you're going to be connected to that school wherever you end up for the rest of your life. You're going to be an alumnus of that school. So it'd be great if you were to come to Mater Dei for 4 years and be an alumnus, and have that in your life all the time. But can you have a great kid who's been to 3 schools in 4 years? Yeah, I mean, it might just be a family situation. You don't want to, get on people for decisions that they have to make. So I try not to judge in any transfer situation, and try to, again, see the big picture, be mature about it, open my mind up to what the problem was, why they're moving, why they're leaving, why they're coming in. Does everybody do it for the right reasons? Absolutely not. Do a lot of people do it for the right reasons? Absolutely. So I think every transfer has a story.
It does.
And I think it's be hypocritical for me not to listen to that story, because I've seen good kids make good decisions. and I've seen good kids make bad decisions. And so, again, fantastic question. I don't think there's an easy answer to this. I think you take everything case by case. Is it easy to get upset about the constant movement and how it changes the dynamics of the teams we all coach and follow? Yeah, transfers change the landscape of the season, depending on who goes where and what happens. But I think you have to take it case by case and story by story.
In your time as a coach, have you seen with your own two eyes kind of that transfer of power from public to private, and maybe some thoughts on that?
Sure. I think I'm kind of in a unique situation because I was at a great public school. Troy High School is a great public school and a great academic school. And I'm at Mater Dei, which is a great private school, biggest private school west of the Mississippi, I believe. And it has a lot to offer. I think private schools do have resources that public schools can't match, and that's a fact. That's a fact when you're deciding where to go to school as a parent. For a kid, I gave my kids the choice to go to Troy because I lived by Troy, to go to Troy or Mater Dei. And the girls, I have 3 girls, wanted to go to Mater Dei because they wanted to play for me. My son wanted to go to Troy because he loved the academics and he loved the basketball program. So, and that worked out great. But yeah, there's no doubt that we have situations at the private schools where the resources are a little bit better, and so it's probably a little uneven. And having been involved on the other side now, especially when we do the all-league things, the re-leaguing situations.
Sure.
That was my first time really going through the re-leaguing situations, and to hear the other schools make their case, and good cases, very passionately about, I don't want to be in this league with this school because they have no boundaries. They can get kids from anywhere, and we cannot. So it's not fair for us to compete against that. And right down the line, true story.
Right, right.
That's not a lie. That's a very passionate argument, and I respect it. But the reality of the situation for a parent is they want to do best for their kid, and if school X has a great sports program, good academics, and it has a great reputation with colleges, and I can go there at a price that I can manage, which, that's the key. The big difference between Troy and Mater Dei for me is tuition. As a coach, not as an administrator, but as a coach, I never had to worry about tuition at Troy. At Mater Dei, I spend all my time, worrying about tuition.
Right.
This kid wants to come to Mater Dei, but can they afford to come to Mater Dei? This kid can. This kid can't. Can we help them with financial aid?
Right.
What can we do and what can't we do? So that is a huge part of the coach's job at a private school, and a lot of private schools do it differently. People will not believe this, but in my experience at Mater Dei, I've never had a kid able to go to Mater Dei for free. They've always had to pay something. Now, we have a great financial aid, and some kids get a good, healthy amount of financial aid. But I, as a girls basketball coach, I will not speak for other sports, but I've never had a kid not have to pay. Kalina Mosqueda-Lewis, Katie Lou Sampson, they've all paid some. Brooke Dimitri, all pay. We don't have full scholarships. So I see it on both sides. It's a really polarizing argument like the transfer thing. I know the public schools would rather not be associated with the private schools as far as competition goes. Someday will that happen? Probably not in my lifetime as an AD, but it could. I think New York, the state of New York does that, where they split their publics and privates.
Texas is a big one.
Yeah, so could it happen someday? Yeah, 100% it could happen. It just depends on how, passionate the arguments are, as we change up all the re-leaguing. Look at the changes we've made in the last 5 years. I mean, we've gone to conferences in a lot of places now where we have 10 or 15 schools in Orange County in a league. And they play 2 divisions. And
right.
Switch those divisions depending on how good the team.
How you finish, right.
We've gone to competitive equity now with football and now with everything else starting next year. So the changes are coming fast. They're coming hard. And, again, adapt and overcome. If you're not ready to handle it, you're going to get left behind. But I think we have a lot of great people in charge. The ADs on the public side are great, and they're very passionate about what they want to get done, and they're very passionate about their schools. And I think the people on the private side are also equally as talented. So you got a lot of good people working to make a good experience for kids. I think it'll all work out.
Kevin, thank you for joining us today. Another edition of Southern Section Sit Down with Kevin Kiernan, California's all-time girls basketball winning coach. He's got 900. Melissa Herlihy, who's also a guest on this show, she's about 838, 839. She's got a ways to go, but we're thankful for Kevin to be on the show today.
Thank you. I appreciate it. I had a great time.
ScorebookLive.com is where you can get all the high school sports across the country and, of course, here in the CIF Southern section and in California. Thanks for watching. I'm Tarek Patel with SB Live Sports. Have a good one.